Do you recognize this first page of this document?
Absolutely.
And is this a package insert for propofol that would be contained within every package of propofol
that is sold? Correct.
Yes?
Yes.
And can you just tell us, what is Diprivan as it relates to the word propofol? What do those two different words mean?
For drugs that are brought to market, there are usually two names. One name is a chemical name, and no matter who makes the drug, the chemical name is the same so that doctors actually know what they're giving. And in this case, the chemical name is propofol. The other name is a trade name. The company was allowed to come up with their own name, as long as the name is not misleading in some fashion. And that's the name that they sell the drug. So in this case, the name is Diprivan. I would just say it's a little teeny bit different, because Diprivan is actually propofol and something called an emulsion. It's the white stuff. It's actually fat. And the emulsions actually can differ a little bit. So in the case of propofol, it is important to specify the manufacturer's name, because they may have mixed it with a slightly different fat solution. This was done in conjunction with Dan Spiker at the Food and Drug Administration, and it relates to the use of propofol infusions in the intensive care unit. So this is for ICU sedation, not max sedation. But the question that came up is, how long can a patient get propofol in the intensive care unit and still wake up quickly? And it depends on how much drug is given. If you give propofol for 1 hour, you get the lower curve that you can see there. If you give propofol for 10 hours, you have a slower washout. If you give propofol for 10 days, you have yet a slower washout. Although the point that was made by this graph is that as long as you're giving the propofol appropriately, even after 10 days of administration, take a look at the lower axis. It's called minutes. Minutes after the end of the infusion. Even after 10 days of administration, the drug will go away in a few minutes after you turn off the infusion. That's the nature of propofol. And this was to guide clinicians. It was also intended as a warning to clinicians to not overdose. The notion was you go from a level of 1 during your sedation, pretty good level, reasonable level for sedation, down to about 0.5 and you wake up. As long as that's what you're doing, you can wake up in here. Look at this. This is just about 25, 30 minutes. So you'll wake up quickly. But look how flat this curve is. If you're off a little bit and you're giving too much drug, it can actually extend to hours. So you have to titrate carefully. If you titrate precisely, you wake up here, just a few minutes. But if you miss it, this curve is so flat that it doesn't cross until somewhere around here that you actually wake up. So you have to, even with long infusions, titrate very carefully.
And this graph that we're looking at that is contained within the propofol package, is that an example of the modeling type work that you're involved with?
Absolutely. I did this graph. This is all based upon mathematical models that are anchored in research data. So the models are anchored in research data. But those models allowed me to do this calculation to provide dosing guidelines, which 15 years later are still in use.